Cool. So I had some homework. I took care of that, so everyone can look forward to that later in the night. You got anything
So
you want to jam about? I got two by email, which are
let's ease into it.
let's save the heavy hitters for
Let's
later
save the
on. But
heavy
I'm
hitting
excited to
shit
hear
for
about that.
right. We can't get Barry Bonds up to bat first, you know.
Ooh, we got some people tuning in from London late night. I like that. What is it? Midnight, 12:30 over there. That is awesome. Cool. So I was just thinking before the episode, we'll keep it light. Um, and what I was thinking about was um, just kind of like interesting reflection that I was having 30 minutes before we started, which was that like a lot of the stuff that like people look at me and think that I've like accomplished a lot. Like I knew a lot of the stuff 5 years ago. I just didn't know how to communicate it. And so, and as I started to think more about that, if you try and translate that to a company, like a company has a lot of knowledge. They have a lot of knowledge about their product and their competitors, but oftentimes they're not very good at communicating it, which is why their customers don't respond or listen. And so just kind of wanted to get it started off of that which is basically like how, if you want to think about whatever you're trying to accomplish, whether to go get a new job or to get more customers for the company that you own, or to, become the CMO at the company that you're working at. I think what is a good place to start is like, if I was going to do a Zoom every night at 7:30 PM, how do I get 30 people every week that are exactly who I want to show up? And then it comes down to communication and providing ongoing value. And so that was kind of meta, but wanted to just get it started there.
Right. What's an example of this? If a CRM company doesn't want to label themselves as a CRM company, they say, you guys can hear Miami's crazy thunderstorms happening right now. You guys hear that?
Yeah.
Oh, this is nuts. Oh man, it's flash flood warnings and shit. It's been crazy. Um, anyway, I guess that's just what happens sometimes. But yeah, like a CRM company, they don't want to label themselves as a CRM. They want to call themselves like a customer experience platform. And then like when you first see that, like you don't know what it actually means. You have to go digging for what the answer is. And really all that is to me is it probably has a sales CRM component and then like a service slash IT help desk component. It's probably full cycle, CRM, but they don't say it that way. They put these fluffy names on things rather than just saying what the product is and what the benefits and value is. I think the takeaway for what Chris is saying is like, don't try to sugarcoat things too much in your copy. Don't try to get too cute. Just be direct with it and learn how to communicate concisely.
Right on. And then I thought of an interesting topic to kind of get everyone rolling. Hopefully we can get some chat going. But the topic is, should marketers be comped on revenue? And if so, how?
We may see differently on this.
Cool. I'm
And
looking
that's
forward
okay.
to it.
That's okay. But actually, no, I don't think so. Because then we'd just be sales. Wouldn't we just be a sales team if we're like getting revenue commissions? Like now, if it's 100% self-service, online checkout, e-commerce, 100% of pipeline is generated from web sourced marketing, then definitely, right? And maybe a shared number with customer support and success because they have to work on retention. I see retention as part of that revenue engine. It's often underlooked, and I think marketing can definitely support their service teams better. And I think upsells as well from your support team that I don't think you should give them a quota for that because then that creates bad behaviors. But really what I'm getting at is if you give marketing revenue targets, you're just going to create bad behaviors. So if you are confident that you can mitigate that and you are a firm believer in motivating marketing with a revenue target, maybe that's a different story and it's an approach that not many have explored. But I'm in the camp of let's have marketing get a contribution to revenue through pipeline. That's kind of what I like to. So I like actual pipeline created from marketing sourced, and we may see differently on that, but it's all good.
Yeah, I have been flip-flopping on this a lot. So like 5 years ago, I was bullish on marketers being comped on revenue. But over time, I've recognized that there's a couple big problems with it. The first one is that you then start getting into attribution wars that just don't make sense. And so that's no fun. And the second one is that for most marketing teams, if they're comped on revenue, will end up doing, just as Gaetano said, doing a lot of the wrong things in order to try and hit that metric, which often leads you to not hitting the metric. And so as of recently, the way that I think that you could get there is to somehow tie a small component of a bonus attached to some sales target, which then incentivizes the marketing team to be aligned more with the sales team. But in terms of having a meaningful amount of compensation tied to revenue, as of late, I agree with you.
Wow. What a turn of events. Nah, I mean, look, I think we don't have many marketers that think in the camp of don't do things that are ungated, don't do things that aren't trackable, don't do things that aren't scalable. A lot of marketers will not think in those terms. And, I think one thing that we are aiming to do is spread awareness about alternative marketing, methodology, modern day stuff. And when people, I always say this on LinkedIn, yeah, we're thinking more forward, we're thinking more modern. And then people are like, well, what's more modern? And then you say, well, not gating white papers, not getting the biggest, fattest booth at the trade show, creating content around the trade show, like all these things that like we always talk about. A lot of marketers just can't get around that hurdle. So we're trying to change mentalities as well.
Right on. So we got a couple questions flowing in. I feel like we'll jump into it, and then I got a couple in my back pocket that we can fall back on if we want. Matthew, is yours a comment or a question? Just give me a thumbs up if it was a question. Thumbs down, no question. Okay.
You can feel free to touch on it though.
Yeah, let's do it. What do you got?
Oh, I noticed yesterday you commented on someone's post on LinkedIn. They were talking about sort of an end of month, meet your MQL goal, where they run that content piece on Facebook or LinkedIn, and they use just a straight LinkedIn or Facebook lead gen form to throw right to an SDR into like a sales cadence. And I mentioned that was a really bad idea. And most people who follow you jump right into that, but
yeah, I didn't follow the comment thread, but I did see there was a lot of activity on it.
Yeah.
So just to reiterate the statement. So there was a post yesterday talking about, hey, you have a week left in your month. If you need to hit your MQL target, just run an ebook download to a lead gen form and you'll get all these leads and then you'll hit your target. And that is like the most perfect example of what Gaetano and I were just talking about not doing. Just because you're paying money to hit a metric that doesn't actually do anything. All it does is just waste your team's time. So I'll let you jump in there. I can tell you're itching to get something in.
Nah, I mean, dude, you nailed. I mean, look, you nailed it, man. That's definitely an example of something what you shouldn't do. Furthermore, if you are gonna do shit like that, make sure the rest of the revenue engine is in place. Like, make sure if you are, let's say, you're going to invest in top of funnel content, you're either going to realize this is not going to be gated, and I'm just going to let it fly out there. And if you are gating it, you better do something with it, right? Like I'm not saying nurture. I know we all hate that idea, but figure out if you can at least build a relationship with that person through one-to-one direct outreach, depending on how you're gating it and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to riff on this too much. I feel like I always say the same shit. You know what it is, Chris.
But I saved one that I think we could go on forever about. which is going to get really specific on each channel. When we talk about channel level metrics and awareness channels versus intent channels, and I was thinking we like actually zoom in on channels and talk and give some examples about, okay, this is what we're doing. This is why the channel level metric doesn't exactly map to a business metric, but this is how we get here, type of thing. So maybe I'll get it started, or
Yeah.
if you got one off the top of your head.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Yeah. So there's here's one that I don't talk about that frequently. So we've been doing a lot lately with YouTube pre-roll ads, either based on web retargeting or competitor search query retargeting, or or some type of intent visit retargeting. And so basically someone searches a competitor brand name in Google, and then the next time they go to YouTube, we're going to be able to present a video to them, and they're going to be able to skip it after 5 seconds, but you'd be surprised how many people actually watch the whole thing. And so when we think about that, if people were measuring it like Google AdWords, they would be measuring it on cost per click and cost per conversion. And so if you measure the YouTube channel that way, it's going to look like the channel is not working as well as Google. No shit. Like, the person in Google is searching, I want this thing, and then you show your ad, you're going to have a way better cost per conversion on that channel than on a YouTube ad where the person's there to do something else. However, at the channel level for YouTube, what I'm measuring is how many people are consuming the video. I know that they're presumably in the target, right? They searched my competitor's brand name, or they visited this intent site, or they've already hit our site. So presumably they're somewhat involved in the product. And then how much did it cost me to have them watch the 1-minute video about my product? Or how much did it cost me to have them watch the 3-minute video of a customer testimonial about how they had so much success with the product? And so if you measured it at that, the view, like, to get them to watch the 1-minute video cost me 7 cents. For them to get to watch the 3-minute video, it cost me 97 cents. And then you have to make a choice of whether or not that view is worth the cost, as opposed to what other people would say, the cost per conversion is $1,800. We're getting it for 600 on Google. Let's kill this, because it's a piece of the execution, not the whole thing. You break it down into little chunks of the journey. And if you accomplish that goal on that channel, then that channel is deemed effective based on your goal for the channel. So that's an example. I thought you could jump in with one.
Yeah, I mean, that's a perfect way of looking at it. And you nailed the two things that I would have looked at as well: engagement on the content asset itself, which is the video, and then the cost. And what you're going to see for YouTube, the total cost is probably, you're going to have really low cost per clicks, as you said. And this way you're actually getting more reach. So you have to be, as a brand, you have to have spend threshold tolerance for paying for things that are measured unconventionally, just as what Chris talked about before. I guess, I mean, I could riff on this for a lot of different things. I'm going to go organic search.
Yeah, perfect.
But I mean, what Chris talked about actually aligns closely to what a lot of blog content creators deal with, which is the CEO or whoever may say, how is the blog performing? The CMO may say, how's the blog performing? And you may look at conversion data per visit, and you may see that, on per blog post, it gets, X percentage of, free trial requests. And it's actually a pretty poor way of looking at it, because I asked my boss once, when have you ever read a blog post and bought something or signed up for a service on like the first cold attempt? And like, never. So with blog, the way to slice and dice it is actually the part of the funnel that blog content is aimed at. And when we audit our content at Nextiva, we break it down by stage of the buying cycle. And we know that on our bottom of funnel offer pages that are around bottom of funnel intent, we treat those differently than top of funnel. So we measure basically the success of blog content based on where it sits in the buying cycle.
Right on. So I don't know if everyone can see, but I just put everyone that's on video on gallery view. And so Gaetano said something. I just want to do a little poll here. So raise your hand if in the past 6 months there's been a social ad for a SaaS product and you have filled out a form inside that said, I want a demo. So some software gave you an ad that said, come get a demo, and you signed up for it inside of social. I'm the only one. I'm blown away. Okay. So my experiment failed. Let's pivot. What I was trying to,
I'm shocked that you, I'm shocked that you did. What tool was it?
I think Integrate, but anyway, I figured that more people would. So what we typically see is people will fill it. It comes back to what you said about everyone knows that they haven't read a blog and directly bought a product, right? And so just thinking about how your own behavior is, like, I'll fill out get a demo forms quite a bit in social, but I'll never actually buy the thing for one reason or another. The lead follow-up isn't good, the product isn't good. Anyway, it just creates a lead for the sake of a lead.
That's interesting, because with me as a marketer, I would never fall for a marketing trick. And I view paid social as a marketing trick. I'm sorry. But I kind of do, because it's interruptive. I wasn't expecting to be looking at vacation pictures and then get blasted with this thing of this product. Like, I hate that shit. So I'm just not going to contribute to that, because that's what I do to other people. So what I'm going to do is just go to the homepage and just submit there. Or just, if I really want to just deal with somebody that I know, I'll go to LinkedIn, see who I know from that company I want to buy something from, and hit them up. That's what I'll do. I don't, I don't want to contribute and make them think they're doing something right. Oh, we got this lead. Get the fuck out of here.
We got a question, a follow up from Matthew that was, how do you decide between a testimonial style pre-roll as opposed to a top level brand awareness style on YouTube, or do you differentiate? So Matthew, my view on this is I typically run both and just figure out which one works better. Also, to do this really effectively, typically you need to create a video specifically for YouTube. Like, the video that you make for your demo page may not be the same one that you would make for YouTube. So the production in order to get this done is actually quite an investment. And for that reason, sometimes it's just whichever one the client has available. I know that there's a better way to look at that than what I just told you. But just given that sometimes these videos take long and expensive to produce, like, you can accomplish the same goal in both ways.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you could use a testimonial. Testimonials are interesting as a content type, because I think they are relevant for top of funnel and also relevant for bottom of funnel. It kind of depends on what kind of testimonial you use. So that we at Nextiva, actually, we have a reservoir of all the testimonials that we have in our basically library of testimonials, and we have them tagged by what we are getting praised for. So if it's kudos for customer service, we have that bucketed. Oh, these are all the testimonials that talk about how great our customer service is. When we are advertising against a certain buyer type where we know service is really important, such as the enterprise, where they don't expect to be, put through a ticketing system, like they want to call and be able to talk to someone fast, we use that as social proof on those kinds of pages. When we need someone that's very price sensitive, we find like a testimonial that is talking about like, great value, great bundle, right? Awesome implementation and onboarding, easy. We basically have our testimonials bucketed by what we need them for. And that also applies to the way we chop up the videos. So if we want to cut to a part where they're just talking about how great the brand is, we may use that for something. If they're talking specifically about like a feature that they love, we'll just cut that. So that's kind of how we think about it, is always really back to the intent of the buyer. That's what we try to think about.
Yeah. A subtle key on YouTube pre-roll, if you're going to do it, which I'd recommend you at least try it, is that you got to get to the point immediately. And so if you have a video that shows your logo for the first 3 seconds, someone's going to skip right through that. And so it's got to be like, hit them. I have someone saying, I never knew what to do with before this product, or I was always struggling with blah. And that's the first 3 seconds. And then you got them on the hook because after 5 seconds, they can hit skip. And so we've done a bunch of A/B tests on that. Like the beginning of the 5 seconds really matters to the success of that execution.
Definitely.
Let's see what else we got. So Amanda's got a question. Amanda, you want to, I'm going to unmute you. You can ask it. I think you're in.
Hey there. I just realized I'm logged into my wife's profile, which is pretty fantastic. This is great. Yeah, my name's Jonathan. Yeah, just more generally, yeah, thoughts on sponsored webinars. They produce really well for us, but they leave some to be desired in many different areas. So yeah, I was just curious about that.
When you say they produce for you, what do you mean?
I mean, you know, really across the funnel. I mean, they do drive pipe and revenue in some cases, but not always. And there's always this instance of like a new vendor that promises X, and then we test it out. It sometimes works, sometimes doesn't.
Who are you selling to?
Mainly merchants.
Like
So
people
online
that,
e-commerce.
yeah, people that would buy like Shopify or something like that too.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Katana, you want to hit it first?
Yeah, man. I mean, I used to work for one of those companies that provided sponsored webinar services. So I know all about how this works. May I ask you, sir, what vertical are you in specifically? Like any kind of merchants in particular, like dental or real estate or anything like that, or just general?
Yeah, I mean, we do really well with like manufacturing, health and beauty. I mean, things have changed since COVID, of course, but yeah, typically those.
Okay.
E-com,
All right.
yeah.
Got it. So here's how it worked basically when I was at Sales Hacker. You know, full disclosure, we were a company that provided sponsored webinars, and we would market that webinar to our audience. So we'd probably run banners on our website on relevant blog articles that pertain to that topic. We'd hit our email list, segmented by whatever, you know, target audience that content was meant for. We would charge a fee, of course, for producing that webinar. And we would invite somebody from the sponsoring company to be like a featured guest on the webinar as well. So you weren't just paying purely for like leads, you were also kind of paying for thought leadership. And the way it worked was straight up. However many webinar registrants were generated for that webinar, you'd get that whole list and you'd be able to market to them as you wanted to. And our job as the provider was just to create the leads, the quote unquote leads. But that was it. So how you look at it is really, you know, where are these people in a buying cycle? Are they even in a buying cycle? And that's what you don't know. Now you can mitigate some of that from the form fields by saying things like, would you want somebody from XYZ company to follow up with more information? Whoever says no, clearly just was there for the content. Whoever says yes, may be worth, you know, following up with, right? But companies were paying for it from two standpoints, from like quote unquote thought leadership, and then for that list, of course, that sign up list. And that was basically it.
Cool. I mean, my view on this, as I struggle to communicate it, is that if you do it well, you shouldn't need someone to get you signups for the webinar. Like the idea of paying someone else to collect an audience for you when you can go and get it yourself just feels like unnecessary for me. So the complete idea of content syndication, third-party sponsored webinars, like those types of things, I just don't believe in, because like you can go in and pick the job titles or any other ways to target people and get them in yourself and not pay the money for it. I think that there's two ways to look at it, but that's how I've been looking at it, is that over time, just usually doing it yourself will end up with a better result, mainly because it forces you to continuously create content for the stream and be able to be able to have a way to get to your buyers when you can, then you can use a bunch of different pieces of content, not just webinars, to get them in. So once you have the target narrowed in, you have complete freedom against anything of needing someone's help to get to your audience.
I now this is going to sound crazy and like counterintuitive because I came from a company that provided these services, but actually I agree 1000% with Chris. And here's why. Guess what happened to Sales Hacker? Some software company bought us out. Guess what happened to if you're someone that said, you know what, there's this community called Sales Hacker that's got access to the audience we need. Let's just say it's sales ops. And we're going to put like 70% of our eggs in that basket of community-driven leads and thought leadership. And things are going great. You know that you're a little, you're sucking on that tea a little too hard. You're relying on that milk, right? Right. But guess what happens when Sales Hacker gets acquired? That goes bye-bye, because that company that acquired Sales Hacker, they don't want to give their audience and traffic and leads to a competing company. And now guess what? You just lost 70% of your flow overnight because an unpredictable thing happened. And you didn't take control of growing your own audience and being in control of your own destiny, like Chris said. And what we found actually as a sponsored webinar provider was that the reason why so many companies came to us is because they couldn't figure out how to mechanically go through the motion of setting up webinars. Like they couldn't figure out like, so who creates the content? Who promotes it? Like they just couldn't figure it out. So they'd rather just pay to outsource it. Also, it wasn't just purely for like the outcome. It was also for like the legwork, the machinery behind it. We had the content promotion process down. We had the production process down. We knew when to send what emails, who to send it to, how to promote on social, the funnels, the influencer network. We had all this shit, down, and they had nothing. So the way they saw it was, not only are we going to get the end outcome that we want, but we're also going to save a ton on the machine power, on the leg horse, on the legwork, because we don't want to do any of it. And there you go. That's it.
You got to figure out how to do it yourself, or over time, you are vulnerable.
Thank you both. Appreciate it.
Of course. Okay. So we're going to pivot. We've talked a little bit about hiring, but maybe we can cover it a little bit in a different direction. And so it's not like assembling a team or something like that, but maybe like let's pick one or two different roles and then kind of just chat through how we would hire them. So a couple of the key ones that I think if I was like starting a small team that I would want would first be somebody to do the distribution and somebody else to architect the content. And probably the third person would be somebody that makes either videos or pictures, or ideally both. And so those are kind of like three. Why don't you pick one and then figure out or talk to us about how you'd go about hiring that person?
Yeah, man, it's a good one. Wow, small team. So I was at a company that was pretty small to start. Sales Hacker is the example I'll use. And this was the team breakdown. It was myself, who was part content creator, part distributor, part orchestrator of strategy and execution, part email marketer, part paid ads guy. That's just how it goes when you're, on a marketing team of 4 or 5 people. At the time, actually, it was 3 marketers and a shit ton of outsourced stuff. So let me tell you how it all went. So myself, I did all that. I like ran the blog, I ran the contributor network. And basically I just did a lot of everything. Then we had a partnerships guy who also did a lot of social media promo for us and sales. And he also helped me out quite a lot with email marketing. Then we had the writers were all free, and it was the community. We had that brand presence because our CEO, Max, he built quite a reputation. He wrote a book called Hacking Sales, and he built a community around that. And then he branded Sales Hacker as the go-to place to contribute your ideas. So we became the most popular blog in B2B sales. So we were able to get free content from every person in B2B sales who just wanted to come up and make a name for themselves, because we had the attraction of the eyeballs and all these companies didn't. And also the other thing that was kind of beneficial for us is we branded ourselves as an unbiased, quote unquote, unbiasedly. We basically had to disclose when we were getting paid to do shit, but for the most part, we weren't a vendor. So people trusted our word over all these other vendor websites that were just creating lists and putting themselves at the top every time. So they were kind of less credible by doing that. But essentially, it was myself, a partnerships guy, and kind of a part paid ads person, part junior content specialist / copywriter / email marketer. And I think Chris and I are pretty much aligned on all that stuff. We outsourced development and outsourced creative because we couldn't afford it in-house. And that's how, and we had a virtual assistant helping us do some other work as well. And that was the breakdown.
Yeah, and so I'll go in a little bit of a different direction on this one. I completely agree with everything Gaetano said. Is like, if you have a role that you're trying to hire for, how do you go about getting that person? And so I've had two different strategies work well over the past 12 months. There's one that's easier than the other. So there's one where you just post a job on LinkedIn and then post about it in your own content, and then you get, our jobs get 500 applications and most of them aren't good. So it takes a lot of time to filter through that and try and figure out who's good and who's not. The other one, which I found really useful, is to just use LinkedIn and always be looking to know in the back of your mind who you're looking for. And then when you think that you found that person, reach out. And that's out of the 6 people in my company, 2 of them have been hired that way, and have been both really good, have both worked out really well. And so from a hiring standpoint, I always like not needing to hire the person tomorrow, like knowing who I need in the future, and then kind of passively looking and trying to figure out exactly who that person is. Not a lot of people get to be in that position. But I know that I could hire 2 people tomorrow if I wanted to. And then when I find the right person, I can pull the trigger. And so that's just some of the ways that I've been going about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it. I approach it the same exact way. Our company has the mindset of always, just in generally speaking, for any marketing role, because we know how hard it is to find good marketers in any specialization of marketing. Just always keep your eyes out for great people. Just always keep your eyes out for great people and build relationships with them, because you never know if they're going to evolve and become great. And then you may want to try and get them to be part of the team, even at the current stage that they're at. They may be a good fit, even though there's not a, open role. We may be able to find something for people who are great. That's the attitude of our CEO. If you find somebody great, we'll find a place for them. That's kind of the attitude there. And I agree with that approach. You never want to be in a situation where you're desperate and you have to hire like tomorrow, like, oh, my SEM guy quit. No one else in the company knows how to do it. We're fucked. Like, you don't want to be in that situation, like Chris said. And then finally, to cap it off, it's like, if you post and say, hey, I'm looking for an XYZ role, you're going to get a ton of garbage. We both know that. I've learned my lesson the hard way, unfortunately. So what you have to do is manually go target the people that you want. And often these are people that are happily employed, well paid, not looking to change, not looking to move. You got to work really hard to convince them. The best people, they're already all gobbled up. They're all hogged up, or they're doing their own shit. It's the free market wanderers who unfortunately are kind of like the unwanted, the untouchables. That's not always the case, because sometimes good people do get furloughed or whatever the case. But, those people that just can't seem to find anything for, months and months and months and months, like Chris and I are never going to have that problem, right? Like, if you're sitting around for 8 months and no one's hiring you, well, you need to do something about that. And the answer is, don't keep begging people for jobs. It's, you probably need to skill up somewhere. You probably need to create your own movement. You probably need to build a social page to X number of following. You probably need to build a blog to X number of following. You probably need to build an email list to X number of following. You probably have to do something different than just begging for job. So, I'll leave it at that. Actually, I don't want to keep ranting, but that's kind of where I'm at on it.
Yeah, I mean, just for the record, 18 months ago, like I was applying to jobs and not even getting interviews. Like seriously, not because I'm not good, but because the places I was applying, nobody actually looks at the resumes. There's 500 people applying and they just have some automation go through it or someone else filter through it. And so it's usually not because you're not good enough. It's just because you're not going about it in the right way. So Katie had a great question. Katie, you mind adding a little bit of color to your question? I'm going to unmute you.
Yeah. I just, if you have a small team, and I love the thought on, part distribution, part content creation, that makes a lot of sense. Does it make sense to have that distribution person stretched thinner by taking, paid on their plate, either SEM or, social, or at a team of two? Does it make more sense to use a smaller agency and have them really focus on email or other channels, organic?
How much money do you plan on spending per month on ads?
Well, for this, let's just say it's hypothetically, let's say it's like a $5,000 budget, maybe split between social and search per month.
Katana, you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure, man. So $5,000 a month budget for all of paid search and paid social. Is that correct?
And then the decision is, do you bring someone in-house or do you find an agency?
Okay. So it's $5,000 a month for the cost of the labor of doing the person.
No, $5,000 a month budget for the ads. And then
as an example, right? Anywhere between like 5 and 10K a month.
Yep.
That's sort of like the size company I'm thinking about with those budgets.
Yeah, got it. So if 10K a month is your ads budget, you better learn how to get good at ads yourself. That is that's a pretty low ad budget. I don't even think any agency would take that on. If they said, what's your monthly spending budget for ads? And you said 10K, they probably wouldn't even entertain the idea of working with you. It's just too small time for many agencies. I think a lot of agencies want to see at least like a 50K commit to spending. I mean, Chris, you are a service provider. You may know better than myself, but I can tell you that any agency that I've worked with, 10K is just far too low. But I'll pause there.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a practical part of the decision and then a strategic part of the decision. And so if the decision is just paid house or in-house or agency, if you want to go outside, you're probably gonna have to go freelance. Because I don't think many agencies, especially at the 5K, would be able to even be able to make it work. Like it's not worth it's not worth your money to pay them to manage 5K. It's also a good decision for you. The second part, which is more interesting, is on the strategy side. It's so like, how important do you think this is to your business long-term? And so in my view, and this again, like I say a lot of things that go against, like not in my best interest because I do it, but like, I think most companies should figure out how to do this themselves because I think it's that important. Like if I was the CMO, I would want to be able to build core competencies in-house to do this because I know it's so powerful long-term. And so from a strategy standpoint, if you believe that it can or is going to be a critical part of the business in 2, 3, 4 years, then I would start figuring out how to do that. The challenge with bringing someone in-house is, to be frank, most people suck. And so I've almost thought about this as more of like a hybrid, which could be something along the lines of, and I know the budget's small, but like if I had mapped out there were no constraints long-term, what I would do is I would hire somebody that I think is good and has the tools. And then I would layer on an agency or somewhere between 3 and 6 months for that person to basically like dissect the strategy that the agency is doing, as long as you're aligned with that one, and then have them go in that direction. So it's almost like paid management / paid training for someone that's good, if you agree that the agency has the right strategy. Just kind of some ideas.
Yeah. I mean, another route you can take is just, you can basically, like, let's say you have 10K to spend a month on ads. You can find like the biggest and baddest consultant who really specializes in like this thing. Let's just say it's SEM. You can pay like an SEM consultant who's a beast to basically create a roadmap for you. Just come in one time, just do a strategy, and do like some coaching and training for whoever in-house has the capability on the execution side, but they just don't know what buttons to push, what levers to pull. And just have that one person do some training sessions and lay out a roadmap strategy. That alone is probably going to cost you like 10K, but it's going to be a one-time hit. And then if you feel that you have at least, basic or average or adequate level competency in running a paid ads program, when all the steps are laid out for you, you just have to go and execute and monitor and be careful and maybe test a few things along the way and incrementally improve, then that might be a good way to go as well.
Yeah, the last thing I'll add, and we kind of touched on this in some, but just to kind of drive home the point, is in a lot of cases, I strongly believe that you should be able to do the job that you're outsourcing before you outsource it as a company, because then you'll know whether or not the person's full of shit when you're talking to them. And secondly, if they're screwing up 2 months in, you'll know. A lot of companies have agencies that are screwing up 2 months in and they don't even know. And so that's like another one, is that I think you need to be able to, at a pretty detailed level, understand what they're doing and whether or not it's working.
Yeah, that one is such it's so tough for so many companies, because the reason why they hire outsourcing is because they don't have the expertise. That's the chicken and the egg situation for them. It's like, we don't have the expertise in SEM. We need to hire an agency to do it. Oh, fuck. Now they're just telling us a bunch of shit that we don't know what it means. We're just trusting that they're right. And that's where a lot of companies get hung up, and that sucks. But if you can be in a position where you only outsource because of capacity and not because of knowledge gap, you're going to be much better off, like Chris said. So try to limit yourself to when it's capacity problem or bandwidth, or you just want to move faster, acceleration. You need more hands, but ideally never let it be because of a skill gap.
Right on. So I'm going to let Gary in. He's got a question that I don't want to touch, but I know that you'll jam on it for a while. So what's up, Gary?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've worked with SEO agencies on and off for years now, a bunch of different ones. And I guess the more I've learned about SEO, the more I'm wondering, do I need an SEO agency at all? Because my opinion is 60 to 70% of it is content anyway. So if I'm doing content well, and I know how to optimize content, what are you bringing to the table for me? One of the things I think about, like, I don't know how to do technical SEO. I don't know how to do schema markup. So do you take that role for me? And how do I measure you on that? Or, I mean, I've got SEM Rush. Do I need you anyway? Because I can measure these results through my content efforts anyway. I don't know if that makes sense.
It's a really good question.
That's a fantastic question, Gary. I'm so happy you asked this question. Man, I get so excited when I hear this. So the answer is, and this may sound counterintuitive, because I may someday be an SEO consultant myself or open an SEO agency, whatever. But the answer right off the bat is me telling you, if you are just majority of the time creating content and you are confident that you're doing it the right way, then you probably do not need them. That's just straight off the bat without me even asking any questions. Just my gut based off what you said. You probably do not need them. Now, the next question I will ask you is, if you don't mind sharing, how much do you pay them per month?
Right now, I'm kind of on a discounted rate, and they are, well, let me give you a shorter answer. We used to be paying $3,000 a month.
Okay. $3,000 a month. Okay. Now, to continue off of that, the next question is, in exchange for the $3,000, I don't even want to ask about the results, but I want to ask about the activities. So what are the activities that they are doing in exchange for that 3,000?
The great question, because I mean, I know, but all of it's like, well, I could do that too. I could go back to their web pages and optimize them just as easily as you could. So maybe it's a question of my personal bandwidth. But
Okay.
like, yeah, but right now they're running, for example, our site is stupid slow and we need a
Okay.
new site. And so they're going to do some technical code-based stuff for, caching, things like that. The stuff is
Okay.
frankly over my head. And so it's
Okay.
good that they're there. But do I need them on a contract basis over this length?
Okay. So in short, there's a lot of things being said there that make me nervous. There's a lot of things being said there that just make me nervous, Gary. I don't know what I'm going to say next, but basically what I want to know really quick is, what is the name of your website?
Yeah, I knew you were going to do this.
Hey,
what is the name of your website, my brother?
I sent a message to you guys last week that you should start doing this. So I'm willing to be the guinea pig.
Oh, this is awesome.
Okay,
yeah,
so great.
Is...
So let me tell me the name of your website, my brother.
Executech.com. EXECUTECH.com.
Executech.com.
And then you're on GT Metrics, so why don't you show the screen?
Let me pull this up. I'm going to share the screen really quick. Let me just get this up here. I'm going. Boom. And you guys should be able to see this. Let me clear the advanced filter. Okay, boom. So did I spell this right? EXE.
Yep, that's the right one.
Okay. All right. So let's check this out. Okay. Wow. Look at that. All right. So dude, this is something to be proud of, man. You're doing something right. Now, right off the bat, what I want to do is filter out your branded keywords, because I don't want this to be too much of a, hip hip hooray party before I get down to the nitty gritty. So let's exclude keyword containing maybe EXE, because that's probably how most people spell your brand. Let's exclude that from the party here. Okay, so I see some good stuff in here, my man. Now, just sorting from positions 1 and going down, I see the next thing I want to see basically is I see the trend, and let's see the breakdown of that trend. So in the top 3, now you have this stupid thing in the way, but here we go. So basically, you have some positions in the top 3, you have some positions in 4 through 10, and then you have a bunch of striking distance stuff going on. And then the terms that you're ranking for, firewall router for small business, that seems pretty good. Nice juicy commercial intent there. Best firewall router for business. Okay, managed IT services Utah, so IT support Utah. Got it. So it seems like you have some things going on that are pretty good here. You're getting some good traffic, I would say, and you're trending upward. Now, in terms of like, do you need the SEO agency? Here's the question. Did they give you any of these content keywords to target? Like, did they tell you how to structure your content and like work with you on content production, or is it purely just like technical?
It's pretty much, as far as content and content structure, it's been myself and my content writer.
Yeah, the answer there is you don't need them, because let's look at something that's ranking well that has commercial value, like firewall router for small business. Let me just search this. Firewall router for small business. Move this out of the way. And I see Executive right there, number 1 with the featured snippet. Nice and beautiful. And yeah, this looks great. Let's look at the content itself. And let's also pull up page speed insights.
Yeah, I have GT Metrics pulled up over here.
GT Metrics, got it.
Way too many HTTP requests.
Yeah, let's see what this looks like.
It's not pretty.
All right, let's see what this is. Let's see what this does. Okay, so top 5. Let's look at the content for a second. Top 5 best firewall routers for small businesses. I mean, this is classic SEO right here. Listicle style, top 5, best 5. You've got all that going on. In terms of URL structure, not a huge fan of spelling everything out word by word verbatim there. Something like, best firewall router might work, right? And someday you may not want to target small business. So having small business in the URL kind of keeps you stuck with that. But let's see what else we've got here. The importance. Ooh, the first thing that hits me like a ton of bricks is the difference between the headline density and font size versus the lightness and difficulty of readability of the HTML paragraph text here. This is rough. Light gray text, tiny font on white background. Eesh. That's tough because on mobile, let's see what this looks like. Oops. Let's go to inspect element, and I think we can change this by device somewhere here. A way to do it. I'm used to doing it on Chrome, actually. I'm sorry about that, but let me move this out of the way. Here it is. It's on this side. Yeah. All right. And now let me move this down. Okay. All right. So live chat hits me on here. All right. It's not as bad on mobile, actually. On mobile, it's actually pretty decent. A lot of text and stuff, but it's not that bad actually on mobile. It looks pretty good in terms of size. Okay. Pop up there. Yeah, this is good SEO content though. This is like the playbook for SEO content. The one thing I would suggest is not having free assessment all the way at the bottom here. Because look how long this took me to scroll on mobile. Like this is a lot of scrolling. So all the way at the bottom is the stuff that you want. And the reality is today, people don't read content all the way through. They scan. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so this, I mean, in terms of scannability, this ain't bad. It could definitely be better. But I would put this free assessment like right at the top, and then have maybe this sticky form be like the footer, standard thing. But you want to put that offer at the top somewhere. But in any case, going back to the site speed issue, let's copy this URL. Oh, we already did that. Go into PageSpeed Insights and let's just see what it says. So, whoa. On mobile, you got a rating of 18 out of 100. And it's calling render blocking resources. So you may have some third-party scripts in here. Let's see what you got. Typekit.net, not sure what that is. It looks like your CSS is render blocking. There are developer ways to improve that. You've got Cloudflare, that's your CDN. I don't think there's anything you can do about that. Let's see what else you've got. Image sizes, so you've got some huge loading images. Let's see, firewalls for business PNG. So that looks like the featured image. You guys are probably not compressing that stuff, right? The logo resize, that's pretty small peanuts there. Not too worried about that. But this is your big boy. That's your jumbo. 559 kilobytes. That's quite large. All this stuff right here. Impact of third-party code. Let's look at this. Whoa.
Some of this stuff is unavoidable, by the way.
Yeah, some of it's unavoidable, but the way around a lot of this shit is deploying it through Google Tag Manager. Because I see you have it here, but you also have all these third-party scripts hard-coded rather than running through Tag Manager. Right? But, oof, man. Let's see. These low ones are not really doing too much. HubSpot's destroying you. Wow.
Any recommendation on that? Would running it through Tag Manager improve that, or is it just the nature of HubSpot?
Ooh, I haven't dealt with HubSpot like this before, so you might want to take that up with their tech team. They should probably be able to get like Hotjar. I know is like you can get around that for sure. GA you can get around that for sure. Cloudflare, I'm not sure. HubSpot, hit up their tech team because this is the big offender. This is the jumbo. Even Facebook.
Mm-hmm. You can defer parsing of JavaScript till the end too, right?
You can, yeah. That's also
you could
true.
just, I think you could hit a button on Cloudflare, defer parsing of JavaScript, let the page load, and probably resolve most of these things with like the click of a button.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a summary of all your JS. So I'd probably make it a point to go through some of this with your devs, see what can be deferred. But yeah, there's definitely, you don't really need an SEO company to tell you how to do this. Like these tools are at your disposal, whether it's GT metrics, page speed insights, Google Analytics itself, Screaming Frog, no matter what you use, it's going to tell you the load times for these pages. And the way you work this is you start by optimizing the pages that are getting a ton of traffic. Like, who cares? Like, yes, your page speed for another article or page may be a 10, but this one is ranking number 1 for an important term with commercial value. This is the one you start with, and then you attack each page systematically based on ideally page value and traffic. And that's how you do it. You can use any of these tools, go through the shit with a developer. You can outsource the dev. You know, like this SEO company, they're not telling you anything you don't already know. Like, you've got a keyword strategy figured out. You're growing. IT support Utah, like you could probably replicate this across every region. You know, don't make it spammy. I'm never a fan of white text on a white background. It just took mad long to load. Okay.
That's slow. It's just that slow.
Got you. Yeah, but you seem to have gotten it right. So I mean, you probably don't need them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take over your screen one second, Tom.
Yeah.
I know you're going to show something.
Yeah,
like
let me unshare this. Sorry about that.
I think I can just steal it from you. So I was looking over here at this, which is basically for your homepage. It's a pretty good indicator of what's happening across the entire site. And Gaetano, you correct me if I'm wrong, because this is really your space. But when I see this on a homepage, I know that I have the wrong SEO agency, because this is by far the easiest thing to fix.
It's heavy. Yeah. Heavy.
So 200, like I think typically we're targeting somewhere around 80. And every time you hit an HTTP request, it's going to slow your site down a little bit, slow the load time down. So I'm not an SEO expert, but that is, I agree with Gaetano. Cool. Yeah. So that was nice. I saw some comments in there like, this is the type of content we came for. So happy you all saw it live. The people that are listening to it on the podcast are probably not going to know what's going on. So, and then you did a lightning round. Are there any other questions? Because I brought a lightning round for you.
Let's do the lightning round.
All right.
I dig it.
Okay. Most overrated marketing channel.
Oh man. LinkedIn.
Damn. The MarTech category with the most bark and no bite. That was a good one, huh?
That's a damn good one. Shit. I want to say shit like social media automation tools. Like, that's for the birds.
I'm gonna hear that more often. I love it.
Like content calendar, social media planning, automate your posts. Like, I think that's a complete waste of time.
And the automated, Instagram has automated follow unfollow shit.
Oh yeah. Even like if this then that. Like if I clap for a post on Medium, it automatically gets tweeted. Like, how many of those wacky automations do you really want happening? Like, you're just going to look like a robot. Like, the best people I know at social are the ones that like you do it. Like, you actually take time to do it right.
Most underrated marketing skill.
Copywriting.
Most overrated marketing skill.
Building a personal brand.
I wish I had one more, but that's all I have on my list.
Did you disagree with anything I said? Maybe we'll go back one-on-one on the answers and call it a day.
Cool. You remember them, or you want me to read them off myself?
Yeah, let's start one by one.
Okay, so it's the first one is most overrated marketing channel.
Yeah, I said LinkedIn. Did you agree or disagree with that?
I'm between trade shows and direct mail.
That's good, man. That's good. I didn't say trade shows because they're not like happening right now. But if they were, I would have said that.
MarTech with the most bark and no bite. I'm so proud of myself for putting that one together.
That's a good one. Yeah, I think I said the social media automation.
Yeah. I don't know what, I don't know if they're like sales enablement or content platforms, but those types of things, I just don't think are needed.
Yeah.
I'm not even a huge user of those. And I'm kind of speaking, I guess, a little out of line here, but from what I've seen of those, like I've seen Uber Flip implemented. It just doesn't feel needed at
Yeah.
all.
I've never even seen it implemented.
Just feels like a mess.
Yeah. Agreed.
Most underrated marketing skill, understanding customers.
Yeah, actually, I almost said something similar to that. I was going to say like the ability to like, listen to sales calls and read, customer notes and see like shit like
Just
that.
customer
But
research.
I think customer research, knowing the customer kind of all falls into the same category.
Mm-hmm. Most overrated marketing skill. I don't really have one. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think building the personal brand is a double-edged sword, maybe to close this one out, because I posted about this like last week, but like, a lot of people who are popular on LinkedIn can't get results for their companies. And this kind of went a bit viral for obvious reasons, because it stirs the pot like crazy. But that's why I want to just say that like having a great personal brand is a very strong asset to have, and it's important. But some of the best marketers that I know are complete ghosts. You don't even know they exist. They have zero personal brand. And that's why also a lot of the best SEO companies and SEO consultants, they don't rank number one for SEO consultant, Dallas, Texas, right? Because they're too busy getting results for their clients, right? That's why the best advertising agencies are not the best at doing their own ads, because they're busy doing them for clients. Like that's just kind of the way it goes. So that's just my final thought on personal brand.
For sure. I'm in agreement. So where should we, you want to get it started on closing it out? And then I think we have some cool stories. I got a story, I think. You close it out.
Yeah. I mean, I'll close it out. I don't have any like topics to riff on as we close out. I think I would just kind of say that what I'm realizing more and more each day is it truly is about focus and execution. I can't say it enough, man. Like there really is I still see these Facebook groups like SaaS growth hacks. And I just laugh at that shit, because I'm like, yeah, someone created a nice, interesting, juicy headline for that group name. But at the end of the day, I've never gotten like a true long-lasting business result from a SaaS growth hack, or better yet, from a comment that came out of a group called SaaS growth hacks. I get all the gold from here, from Chris. So that's basically how I'll close it off.
Yeah, so I think last week I kind of closed it out by talking about how somebody came here on week 1 when we started doing this out of nowhere, by the way, like just, Katana, you want to do this? And then started a podcast, started getting more active on LinkedIn, and then had people reaching out to them to see if they wanted to get a better job at a new company. And this is if whether you want a new job or change industries or all those different things, like you can accomplish them if you take action. And so I'm looking forward to publishing that story on my LinkedIn, because that's really like what we're here for. We're here to share the knowledge that we've learned, to try and help you avoid the mistakes that we've already made, with the hopes that like you go on and become the CEO of an awesome company, or the CEO of an awesome company, or start your own company, or do whatever makes you happy. Right. And so that's kind of what gets me motivated to come here every day, and really appreciate all of you joining.
Yeah, I mean, I would just close out on that by saying the reason I show up is I don't want to let anyone down. I'd actually feel bad if like I didn't show up and people were like, oh shit, like it's not the same. I don't know if that is true or not.
It would not be anywhere near the same without you. If I was just me here, it wouldn't be the same.
That's the problem, man. I know. So we got to keep it going. And just thanks again, everybody, for coming back and, hanging out. See, Ashley, I see your little girl there. What's up? Haha, she looks like she wants to learn about marketing. All right, cool.
Yeah, and if you guys have any like high level topics, feel free to drop them in my DM, and then I'll kind of let them marinate and figure out how to get it a little bit juicier before we get started next week. All right.
Awesome.
See y'all. Have a great night. Bye.
Peace, y'all.